Welcome to the Kindness Principles podcast. I believe kindness is a cultural strategy that empowers people to create meaningful lives, healthier relationships, stronger organizations, and a world where everyone can thrive. My name is Cindy Smarsh, and I'm really glad you're here. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here today. I want to talk to you about kindness in the workplace, and that as a response to the epidemic of quiet quitting. So, quiet quitting, the QQ phenomenon, quiet quitting, this is when your top talent, well, any talent really, leaves quietly and not loudly. And what that means is they start resigning while still there. So they stop raising their hand and sharing creative ideas. They stop mentoring. They may have actually written a resignation letter and made some decisions around resigning, but they haven't actually done it yet. So these are quiet little signs that they're disengaging, that they're disillusioned, they're unsatisfied. So they're really not giving it their all anymore. They're just showing up, taking up space, and doing just what they need to do to get by. Because in their minds, they're done, but they just haven't walked out the door yet. So, what's driving this kind of behavior that we're hearing so much about in our organizations is they don't feel recognized. According to Gallup, anyway, three of the biggest factors driving this is that employees simply do not feel their work is being properly recognized. And they also don't feel any real connections to anybody at work. And they're really questioning whether anyone in leadership genuinely cares about them. So there's a breakdown in these things in places where we see a lot of quiet quitting. So, high performers, they don't need perfection. They want meaning behind their work. They want psychological safety. They want acknowledgement, like simple acknowledgement. But when culture erodes, there is no people culture, then they don't have those things. They don't feel like they're safe. They don't feel like they're noticed. And so one of the things that we need to shift in our minds about work satisfaction is from the model of thinking the way to keep employees happy is to give them more money and promote them. Now, those things aren't bad, those things aren't wrong. And for some folks, that is exactly how to keep them. But the broader perspective and research is showing us that that is not, those kinds of perks are actually not what's really going to increase employee loyalty. It's more about how people are experiencing the culture of the organization day in and day out. So, how they feel every day going to work. So, we want to address the roots of retention, not the structural ones, but more the roots of the retention. So, how does kindness, if we consider kindness not just fluff, but a powerful business strategy, what would that look like? And how would that help reduce the number of people who are quietly quitting? Well, kindness is really about noticing people, right? It's really about seeing people and knowing them as more than your employee or a team member. So, do you know what they do on the weekends? I mean, not being nosy, but do you know if they have families or what their hobbies and interests are? Or, some maybe a charity that they really love. Like, who are they besides the person who works in your organization? This is really important. If you can get to know something about them and just even remember in your mind, oh, this is a full, whole person in front of me. They're not just the person who works here. So noticing them, Speaking to them outside of meetings that you're in with them, that is great. If you meet in the hallway and you can stop and smile and say hello and ask how they're doing, or how was the weekend, or congratulations on your kid's graduation from college, or I heard you went sailing last weekend on the lake. Wow, how was it? Or, I'm just making stuff up here, but um, you know, just speaking to them as people. I mean, this sounds so maybe so simple or so ridiculous to even be suggesting these things, but these little moments, these little touches, these little moments of connection that you can create in your organization can make the difference between somebody quietly quitting or someone staying longer and longer and loving what they're doing. Also, the old model is we do annual performance reviews, right? So once a year, you fill out something or they fill out something and kind of review how things have gone and hit some highlights. And that is really, I mean, I know that's helpful. I like to reflect on my own work and life at the end of every year, but we don't want to save all of that for one event a year. Acknowledgement can come daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, as well as annually. But acknowledging in the day to day, like, wow, Sally had a great idea last week. She brought up in a meeting. We're going to implement it for the next 6 weeks and see how it goes. Thank you, Sally, for your creativity and innovation. Or, wow, someone had a great idea of how to, serve our customers in a different way. So, and they tried it on a customer and the customer reported, 95% satisfaction. That is outstanding. Let's do more of that, or whatever. Again, not just the great, big, huge wins like we got the $1 million account. Congratulations, everyone. But rather, what were the small wins on the way, or the small innovations, or the small contributions along the way to get the big goal accomplished? Kindness is creating opportunities for team building, and that speaks to that concern that no one's connected to others at work. So when you start to feel more like a family, like in the best sense of the word, and not in the creepy sense of the word or the too invasive sense of the word, but you start to feel like people with common purpose, like we're in it together and we know each other, and we know how to bring our strengths together, and where one person maybe does not have as much strength, maybe this other person does, and put us together, and wow, what a powerful team we are. And so putting people together to get to know each other better as people as well. Maybe you bring in, I know accounting firm I worked with started bringing in lunch every Friday, just so people could sit back together and have lunch. And in the United States, well, I think all around the world, we fellowship well around a table with food. Like that's a big social fellowship opportunity where we show ourselves more as people and less as employees. And so that's a possibility. A place where my mom used to work had what was called fun days. I think it was once a month. And different departments would plan these fun days for everyone. And so they'd play games, or they'd have, an ice cream social, or anyway, they'd get away from their desks, get out of their cubicles, and just relax together in some kind of recreational way. In a department, I was in the grief department of a large hospice for many years as a grief counselor. And I remember our executive director inviting us to do department spotlights. And we had these monthly meetings. All of our hospices came together in the area and had a big meetings. And then once every month, a different department would be spotlighted, and we would share something about ourselves personally, or create a skit to show ourselves, or a video or something. And so people really saw more behind the scenes of who we were as people working together in our departments. And those were a lot of fun, and we got to know each other better. And it just really added a sense of of connection amongst everyone. So there's use your creativity to speak to this need for people to feel like they have real connections at work. And then showing you really care. I mean, there's so many ways to show that you really care. I was just talking to someone the other day who was praising CEO where she works, and she works at a business where the air conditioning, they work in old buildings, several old buildings, so that the air conditioning um, is not the best. So when there's hot summer days, it's not always the most, they're not able to stay as cool as maybe some of us are in our business surroundings. And one day there was an announcement made, everybody come to the courtyard, drop what you're doing, stop what you're doing, shut down your computers and come to the courtyard. And that the company had brought in a large, like a lemonade truck, and every single employee could choose what kind of tall glass of lemonade they wanted. And they were to just, relax together, have some nice, cool lemonade. And then they were told, you're done working for today. Just when you're done with your lemonade, you can go home, whatever. So that's a sense of leadership, being in touch with, wow, the staff is working in really hot human conditions. How can I, as a leader, respond to that in some gesture, make a gesture that's not that costly, but means so, so, so much. As a matter of fact, I happen to know that company went through a big transition in not too long ago in the past, and they lost people who, because people were not making as much money as they could make in other places, left, got other jobs, didn't, where they were making more money, and actually came back to this organization because even though the money is not as good, the culture is so much better. So kindness can be an amazing way to absolve the problem of quiet quitting. There's a powerful question you can ask your team to work on increasing the culture to be more successful, to hold on to your people. And that is this question: how can we make this environment a place where you do your very best work? That, my friends, is kind. That is kindness in motion. All of these things are. So remember, anytime you can speak to these three factors: people not believing their work is being properly recognized, people not feeling they have connections to other people at work, and people thinking that no one on leadership genuinely cares about them. Anytime you can think of ways that aren't necessarily costly at all, costly financially or time-wise or in any way at all, anytime, think it and respond. Respond with kindness, and you will see things turn around. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe to our show and share this episode with anyone who can benefit. If you'd like to learn more about how the kindness principles can change your life, please DM me on LinkedIn. And thanks again for listening.